So we're going to start off with Andy and the 2110 over WAN update. Andy, take it away, please.
Thank you very
And
much.
we are seeing your screen. You're good.
Perfect. It's all working well. I won't say that too much at this point. Great. So 2110 over WAN, this is an activity group that's been going for a couple of years. Very specifically, you heard me talking about distributed production previously. Well, very basically, this is talking about the interconnect of IP facilities or IP infrastructures in various locations. So the 2110 standards have been maturing. We've even revisited a lot of them and modified them and optimized them even further, as has the control plane. So these are in regular use. It's business as usual to deploy this technology in building infrastructure. But it was designed for a facility. It was designed for a local area network. And there are several things that happen when you go outside of your safe, secure local facility space that you need to take into account. And that's specifically what this work's been looking to address. Basically, there are 3 activity groups that are running at the moment. You're going to hear from the other 2, so I won't steal any of their thunder. But there is the RIST activity group. There's the ground to cloud, cloud to cloud, cloud to ground group. Try and say that quickly, which John's going to talk about in a minute. And there's the 2110 over WAN, and they are intrinsically linked. And there's actually going to be quite a lot in the technical recommendations that we're creating. There's quite a lot of cross-referencing between them simply because of the synergy and the overlaps between them. But specifically what we're doing in 2110 over WAN is looking at the interconnect between facilities. It might be a traditional IP production facility. It might be a truck. It might be cloud infrastructure. It's any 2 geographically non-co-located areas that you actually want to interconnect essence-based production in flow. And that's looking at the data flows themselves and the control plane. 3 typical scenarios here, that all fall into that kind of distributed production bucket. The classic REMI, remote production, for doing an event somewhere where one end is a truck or a collection of cameras, etc., and microphones at an event, and the other end is your central processing facility. Intra-company, so that's companies interconnecting more than one of their geographically located areas, or going between companies where resources are being shared. We've looked at the data plane and the control plane. So the data plane specifically, we've done a draft, TR09-01, which very basically looks at applying, again, as Thomas talked about earlier, not reinventing the wheel. So all of these are applying pretty well existing toolkits that there and just saying how they're going to be applied to this, including the various methods of protection, trunking, and essence alignment, which is what we do about aligning the different media essences relating to a flow. So I won't dive into this now. There's then the control plane, which actually has proven to be the larger piece of work. We've done quite a lot of brain bashing on this. There is a separate TR, which is TR09-2 for that, specifically looking at, again, all of the arbitration that needs to go between 2 facilities when we're sharing resources. This diagram, I don't expect you to read and understand in the next 27 seconds, but suffice it to say, it's all about unpacking how one facility or one location securely shares the availability of a resource and allows that to be brokered through a DMZ, through a demilitarized zone between 2 locations. So it has all of the security aspects there. Very recently, what we've done is come up with what I call a constrained NMOS toolkit for the actual arbitration of those flows between the facilities or between the entities that are sharing. And very specifically, that doesn't mean the facilities have to be running NMOS as their control planes, although obviously we would like them to be doing so. But we are actually using a constrained version of NMOS and all of the security associated with that to actually advertise and reconcile and proactively alert what's happening between the facilities in the wide area connection. So the good news is we're almost there on this piece of work. I think there's going to be some what next bits, which we're going to be looking at within VSF. But for now, the end is in sight. However, that doesn't mean to say it's not worth joining the fun right now. So if there's something you'd like to join just for these last maybe 2 or 3 meetings we've got left, we're also looking for some volunteers to prototype the software control planes that we've worked on. So if anyone out there in any entity has got a small bit of resource they'd be willing to do, not physical but virtual VPN based interop testing for the control plane, really like to hear from you on that as well. Apart from that, all that remains is for me to invite you for a nice cup of tea when we get the chance. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Andy, thank you so much. Great summary. Quite the whirlwind tour, and we'll just keep on at the same pace.